million gifting apps out there that they all say pre-curated gifts. And all it is a bunch of boxes with candles and lotion in it. And that's all they ever offer to people. It's like everybody just wants to give candles and lotion. It's like, guys, that's not personal. And it's also not a good gift. I mean, both of them are, they get used and expire. Like a real good gift is like, we have policies here that we won't let you gift certain things, and because we don't want them to be what we call fart in the wind gifts, because you just want, a gift is designed to make an impression after impression after impression. If you give someone a candle, or you give them a bottle of champagne, or a food item like a box of chocolates, that makes an impression and then it's gone. You know what I mean? So like, that's your job as a small business owner, is to make repeated impressions on these people. And those impressions to be repeated positive impressions. So like sending them a knife from Cutco with their favorite quote engraved on the side of it is
You're listening to the Focus on Customer Experience podcast. Benjamin Del Grosso gives you the ins and outs of one of the most underlooked aspects in business today. Improve your customer service and watch your business skyrocket.
2, 1.
Now, here's your host, Benjamin Del Grosso.
Hello and welcome to the show. Today we have Steve, and Steve is the founder and CEO of the Appreciation Advocate. Since 2012, Steve has been a small business owner who focused his business around one thing: building deep and meaningful relationships. By doing so, he was able to sell nearly $100 million worth of real estate, working 3 to 4 days a week. And while taking off 1 to 2 months per year, today, Steve helps other small businesses quickly stand out among the crowd, build deep and substantive relationships, eliminate burnout, and take more time off, generate more referrals, increase income, and have more fun in their career. So, Steve, welcome to the show.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. So, I guess, how did you start a company like the Appreciation Advocate?
So I got into that because what I started doing in real estate was I started working by referral. I had a mentor that taught me how to do real estate by referral, by working with people that I like, and then having those clients duplicate themselves by sending me people like themselves. So I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And then I started becoming known as the referral guy around the office. And then a lot of other real estate agents were like, hey, how are you doing this? What are you doing? And every time I tell them, they're like, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Or that's a lot of work or whatever. So I was like, well, there's a market there, I think. And what I did is I created the Appreciation Advocate, so that basically small business owners, I mean, obviously I'm a little biased towards the real estate industry. That's because of where I come from. But basically any small business owner can just basically plug into the Appreciation Advocate, and we'll handle your gifting and client appreciation. So the people that you're working with, your best clients, never get forgotten about, and then they start referring you at a high level.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because referrals are very important, and you really want to take care of your customers. So, I mean, you were a realtor for quite a while. So, like, how did being a realtor help you with what you do now? Like, obviously it had a lot to do with referrals, right?
Well, yeah, for sure. So basically, real estate obviously is a game of dealing with people. So when it comes to engaging with people and trying to duplicate past clients, I mean, very similar to like a financial advisor or like an insurance agent. Like, you want to make sure you get those referrals. And the reason is, referral is the highest quality lead in the business world. I mean, someone shows up already pre-trusting you. There's a pre-existing trust factor there. That's an easy deal to close. You don't have to work as hard, and you don't have to spend as much time on it. They come willing to sign a contract. So that's one of the reasons I focus on that more than, cold calling, which is, you got to work your way in and talk your way into a conversation and force it almost. And it's like, it's not as genuine, and it's harder, and it's not as fun. I'll be honest with you. Like, getting 40 to 50 no's before you get one yes is not quite as fun. That much rejection, I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, no, that really sucks. I'm not, you know what? I'm pretty thick-skinned, but I mean, yeah, going into getting that many, it really wears on your confidence. That's for sure, right? And I have a few friends that literally, they're sales reps, And that's what they do all day. No, 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 no. Okay. And then they go back next week. So you ready to do a deal now? I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't know how you can keep doing that, but
No.
that's just kind of who they are, right? They're very thick skinned and they can just keep taking it and they just, oh, we'll find a way to do business, right?
Yeah,
But
and I'm a deep skin, a dark, thick skinned guy, and I mean I come from a family who specializes in the art of dark humor. I mean I've been ripped and ridiculed growing up all the time by my family. We had we were always ripping on each other, and even with that upbringing, I still don't like being rejected that many times. I still would rather just walk into an appointment and say, "Hey, Steve, here, I'll work on the paperwork. You go take a look at the house, and I'll be done." Or and I'd rather do that kind of appointment rather than um, sit there and be like, "Well, you want to use me because," and try to force my way in.
you know, it's funny, like referrals is so huge. And I had a lot of people when I started this business, they basically, people were telling me you just got to move boxes, you got to move boxes. And the first year I worked so hard on just focusing on the transaction and I didn't focus on building the relationships, which is more of what I am known for. That's more of who I am, is more of someone who likes to build a relationship. I want to get to know my clients. I want to have that conversation. But the first year, it was just like, let's move boxes. And that's where I kind of did a lot of things wrong. I also had people tell me, early on with my business, like, I don't understand how you're even going to get any repeat business from any of these clients. I mean, they buy a car, you install a dash camera, and that's it, it's done. And I'm like, and then they had those like thoughts in my head thinking like, oh, well, yeah, I guess so, eh? Like, I guess I probably won't hear from them again for 5 years and they probably won't remember who I am. But it's actually quite funny because I'll go and I'll install a dash camera and there's a lot of clients already who rotate their vehicle once a year. Like they go, they have a lease, like boom, they get another one. And it's like some of these customers have done 3, 4 installs. On top
Yeah,
of it, they're doing referrals all the time to all their friends, their family, their brother, their sister,
yeah.
everybody, because they were so happy with the customer experience and how we took care of them.
Yeah,
And
I mean, basically, when what you said there, like what you do, like with the dash cams, I think that would be a highly referable thing because so many, especially car geeks, like they are so referral driven. Those people, like when they find a good mechanic or a good specialist at whatever it is, whether it's dash cams or installing certain LEDs inside the house or radios or sound systems or whatever, when they find that good person, they are gonna get a ton of referrals. And like especially for what you do, like appreciation advocate would be fantastic for what you do because those best people, 3 to 4 people, doing 3 to 4 installs in 1 year or and then hitting up their network, dude. That's exactly the type of stuff I'm talking about. Like that's and I love the customer service that you focus on because like that is the next that is what takes a business to the next level. That's what makes you referable. That makes you from what my mentor told me was what and you mentioned this just now is going from transactional to relational. When you operate relationally instead of transactionally, that's when you start getting the big bucks.
yeah, I'm part of a networking group, and the big thing they do like to talk about is if you are a problem solver, then you're also building relationships with people for the long term. But if you're just someone who's trying to move a box, you're not really solving a problem. You're just moving a box. But people want their problem solved, and the problem in the industry we're having. Well, I don't want to get into a whole pitch on what we do, but realistically, when we're talking about appreciation advocate, maybe give the listeners a little bit more of what you do. Because I mean, I know a lot of other small business owners that they don't have time for a lot of things. They're always too busy. Oh, I wish I had another person like me so that I had time to do all these other extra little things. So what is it that the appreciation advocate would do for a small business owner to help them out for their business for success?
Sure. We have a couple different things. We have like obviously we have like a high end full suite of service. Like that's like our high end package where you basically get everything we have to offer all in one, and that's like the most high ticket item we have. And then obviously we go down to other packages. Like we have one package. It's called we haven't really named it yet. It's our new release that we're kicking around a couple names for it, but It's basically just for moms. And then I'm thinking that might be the name of it, just for mom. And the reason we do that is because, there's a lot of mompreneurs out there. There's a lot of, and especially around the holidays. And I know this just because at least this is how it was in my family growing up and how it is now. Is like around the Christmas season, I feel like moms get run over all over the place and they have to do the gifting, where it's like, for me, I didn't have to do as much gifting. My wife took care of most of it. She bought all the gifts, wrapped them all. Like, I didn't have to do much of it. So like there's that for the mompreneurs of the world. Then we have another gift system where we call it instant impact. So like if you were meeting with a client, right, and you installed a dash cam and you said, and they might have said, hey man, thanks so much, we're going through a rough time right now or whatever, but this is really makes my day. Or they revealed something about themselves that you want to just be like, hey, if I get some time, I want to do something nice for that person. But as a business owner, you don't have time to go out, shop, wrap, and handle this gift. So what you do is you sign up for our instant impact program, and you basically just send us a request, be like, hey, look, a client. And then the reason we call it instant impact is because you can operate right there within the moment. It's like in the instant it happens. So you go like, hey, I just talked to a client. They're a little upset because their kid's leaving the house and they're going all the way to college and they're going to have an empty nest. Let's do something nice for them. You send us the request. We put the get together and send it out professionally wrapped and with a personal note. And like, you don't have to deal with anything. I mean, obviously you got to buy the gift, but like you can pick the price range. You can pick what kind of thing, whatever you want to do. And we just make it happen for you. And then you just reap the benefits. Like, just consider it like around Christmas time, Santa gets all the credit, but the elves are the ones doing all the work. So that's what we do. We're the elves and you're Santa. So we do all the work and then you get all the credit.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at your at the website here, right? And it says, think of us as Santa's elves and you're Santa.
That's exactly, yeah. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. I mean, we literally do all of the gifting work. And the thing is, like, with that instant impact thing, like our whole goal was to basically make it so that small businesses have access to this kind of gifting ability, where it's as opposed to like a big corporation. But we also wanted it to be customizable and highly personable versus like there's like 50 million gifting apps out there that they all say pre-curated gifts. And all it is a bunch of boxes with candles and lotion in it. And that's all they ever offer to people. It's like everybody just wants to give candles and lotion. It's like, guys, that's not personal. And it's also not a good gift. I mean, both of them they get used and expire. Like, a real good gift is like, we have policies here that we won't let you gift certain things, and because we don't want them to be what we call fart in the wind gifts, because you just want a gift is designed to make an impression after impression after impression. If you give someone a candle, or you give them a bottle of champagne or a food item like a box of chocolates, that makes an impression and then it's gone. You know what I mean? So like, that's your job as a small business owner, is to make repeated impressions on these people. And those impressions to be repeated positive impressions. So like sending them a knife from Cutco with their favorite quote engraved on the side of it is a much higher quality item. And I think investing, that might be a $80 to $120 item, but it's going to live in their house forever. And Cutco has a forever guarantee. So like, that item is a generational item now. Or even to get them like a sound system, like a speaker, like a JBL speaker, or a custom LSTN headphone set, or whatever, anything like that. Like, those are cool gifts that allow you to reach the next level of gifting and make those positive impressions day in and day out, versus instead of just, fart in the wind gifts.
Well, yeah, so it makes sense what you're saying, because when I was working for this company, it was about I want to say 15 years ago. 18 years ago is when I joined this one company, and they had Christmas, and they gave everybody a knife, a big block for cutting meat and stuff on, like a butcher's block, and they gave everybody a knife. We still have that knife to this day.
Is it a Cutco knife?
No, I don't know what brand it is, but it's an expensive knife, like a big knife, right? Like,
yeah,
a big
but you still
right?
have. But here you are talking about it.
I still have it.
Yeah, I know. But you probably think of that company every time you pick up that knife and block, right?
Yeah, I think about the time. So I want to read something from your website here. Okay.
Sure. Yep.
So a lot of people don't have this in their business, and it's a mission statement, right?
Yep.
And their mission statement says, we exist to make it easier for the small business owners of the world, the mom and pop shops, and the average Joes to compete with and exceed the performance of large corporations in the areas expressing gratitude, client appreciation, and overall customer experience. Our goal is to never lose sight of who we truly serve, remain affordable, and to aid in forever unlocking the full potential of small business owners everywhere.
That is
So
it.
I just wanted to read it because a lot of companies don't have a mission statement. And if you don't have one, hopefully this gives you some sort of energy to maybe go and make one. At the same time, it's very clear on what your mission is as a business with the Appreciation Advocate.
Yes, that's what we do. I mean, that's the most part. I'd say the most important part about that is just that remain affordable part. Because I small business owners are my people. Like I want them to have access to this stuff. Like I'm never going to charge, $10,000-$20,000 for a consulting fee because average Joe and mom and pop don't show up for that conversation. But they do show up for $40 a month, or they do show up for a couple $100 a month. But those are people, and we do a very good work, so we can unlock that potential. And like I said, it says in the mission statement, exceed the performance of corporate America, and that's what I fight to the death for small business owners.
Yeah. So the big thing is if I think a lot of people, if you're thinking transactional, which we brought up earlier in the podcast, a lot of people will think transactional and just think about, how am I going to get the money from them? And how am I going to move this box? Or how am I going to sell this service? And, this kind of stuff is long-term thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you have to really be a long-term thinker and look at the big picture. Like you were even talking about the Cutco knives. You were talking about being generational. That could be a thing where the knife comes into the house and the knife is now passed on to the kids when they move out. And next thing you know, every time they're cutting their steaks or cutting their meat or whatever they're doing with this knife, right, they're going to see the name brand of that company. And that's the thing. That is longevity. So, a lot of people might look at it as, an $80 investment in a knife. Oh, that's expensive. I don't have money. But that $80 could turn into, $5,000 or $10,000 over the course of, let's call it 20 years,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because the amount of people who see, I'm not telling you have to go buy everybody at your customer an $80 knife, right? But the whole thing is the ripple effect of knowing that brand is always in your face and showing up everywhere.
Yeah. And the thing is that you mentioned there is like the $80 might not sound like, it might sound like a lot for a gift or $100 or whatever it is for one gift. But like, there are people who are willing to spend $250 for a steak dinner on their best clients. But that's one impression. They hear that they have the food, they eat it, and it's gone and it's done. And like within a week, they're already on to the next thing. They're not going to be repeatedly. That impression was $250 for one impression. So you're willing to spend $250 for a steak dinner, but you're not willing, that makes one impression versus $125, half the price for a gift that makes repeated positive impressions to not just them, but their family as well. So like, that's the mentality that you got to have there.
Not like, it would be an amazing customer experience is if you're a real estate agent, is you come over to those people's new house, you bring them these knives with your name on it, and you cook them dinner.
Oh my God, dude.
That would be like freaking amazing. Could you imagine that? Your real estate agent comes over, gives you this knife set, cooks you a dinner, cuts it all up with those knives, and then leaves you those knives when they leave. That would be like,
that's pretty cool. That's a cool. I do give high end gifts like that, but I don't cook them dinner. When I was in real estate, I used to make people. I would get people custom made watercolor paintings of their house instead, as like, hey, this is your first house, and then they obviously hang it up because it's like their first house or whatever, and it's a way for them to commemorate buying the house. So that's what I did. But that cooking them dinner, if you suck at cooking, that's not a good idea. Like, don't go that route. But
I was just thinking,
if
they're going to spend if they're going to spend $250, buy $120 knife, and then buy like, $80, $100 of the food and go cook it for them, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like if you're a good cook, right? If you're a good cook.
Yeah. Use your talents appropriately. Like whatever you're good at, play to those.
you know what's interesting is, so when I worked at that job, which was certified radio, which is where I got the knife from,
Yep.
the owners used to do this thing for just the employees, and they did it for 2 years, and then they killed it. It was just something they just got rid of, and they used to do a employee appreciation night once a year, and they would cook the meal for you, right? And we're talking, they'd have shrimp, they'd have, like steaks, they'd have, like, it was like amazing dinner. I mean, it was on paper plates, right? But it was still like, 40 or 50 staff members, right? And they would make this amazing meal, and all of them would. And there's quite a few of the owners, and it was just absolutely amazing. And I would explain to the owners, because we came into hard times, in 2008, 2010, and they kind of killed a lot of that stuff. And I remember saying to them, listen, you guys don't need to have these 40, 50, $60,000, Christmas parties that you guys like to put on. You just need to get the staff together and make these meals that you made. And they don't even cost a lot of money. It might cost you, $1,000 or $2,000 to do this. And because that is like way more, to me, it's more of like an emotional experience for the employee than just going and sitting around somewhere fancy in your suit and having a couple drinks kind of thing. But that's my personal opinion.
No, that's accurate. I mean, not every gift has to cost a fortune. Like, I mean, those watercolor paintings I did, they were less than $25. Like, I mean, I also had paintings of people's dogs. Like, I had a woman once, her dog passed away, and I did a watercolor painting of her and her dog, and as like a way for her to remember her dog. And like, that was, again, it's like a $13 gift to do that. And she was blown away by it. And that's going to make positive impression after positive impression. Every time she looks at the photo, she's going to think about me. And like, that's how you do that. It doesn't have to. And the other thing is to kind of go hand in hand with what you just said about your former employers. There is like, they don't have to do it for the whole company. Like, you got to do it for your best people. Now, I guess for them, since they're doing it for their employees, I would do it for the whole company. But like, when you're in terms of clients, like, all of my and if we talk about my real estate career, all of my clients are not created equal. Some of my past clients are people I never want to talk to again, and other ones are people I never want to not talk to. I can't wait to see them again, and they're the best people I've ever been around. So like, you focus on your best people, and that might be the top 10, top 20, top 30 people. And I mean, I might have 250 to 300 clients, but I'm only focusing on the top like 10% or so. So like, I'm going to be doing the high end gifting for that top 10 to 20%, not all 300 of them. That'll break your bank.
It's all good.
Especially because not all of them are created equal. Some
Yeah.
people are, a-holes, to say the least, and others are not. So focus on the ones that are not.
Well, yeah, I guess you want to try and give everybody. So the whole big thing is to try and focus on, the people who are raving fans
Yes.
of your business.
Yes, that's what you do. You focus on the raving fans, focus on the people who have bought into you the hardest, and water that plant as much as possible.
Yeah, that's cool. Water that plant.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously we're just talking pretty freely here.
Yep.
And, we kind of actually hit. So what are some ways someone could start implementing gratitude in their business to help grow their business?
So I actually do a public speaking thing on the speech I do on it is called how small businesses are unintentionally poisoning their best relationships, and how to stop it. And then in that speech, I actually give recommendations as to what they can do to stop doing that. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things I have here that I can give you real quick. So I'll run down the list real quick. So basically what you can do is you rank your database, your sphere of influence, your clients, and pick them, A plus B, C, D, then make sure you pick and you focus on doing all of your effort around the A's. And when you get past the A's, then you move to the B's, C's, and D's. Well, the D's are actually the A-holes. You don't deal with the D's, but the A's, B's, and C's, you focus on them in that order. Then you got to determine a budget. Obviously, as with any business decision, you've got to have a budget that you're operating out of. Then you got to build a random timeline. And by random, I mean like in quotes, because to you, it's not random, but to them it is. So like, don't give people gifts during the holidays, because that's when everybody gives gifts. Your gift won't stand out. But like, by random, I mean, give them a gift on like March 13th. or July 23rd or something random so that it shows up and there's a shock and awe factor. The fourth thing, I would say create a gift list and a vendor list where like you have a series of people you go to. Like I would be on your vendor list, but your gift list might be Cutco knives, watercolor pictures, coolers, tumblers, whatever else, speakers, dash cams, whatever else. And then the fifth thing is listen for what we call the juice. Whenever you talk about somebody there's a gossip or whatever, you're just like, oh, we're talking about the juicy stuff. Whenever you talk to a client, they always reveal something about themselves that is quote unquote juicy. You've got to know that stuff. And when you hear it, you've got to document it. And then that's how you really implement the element of shock and awe to another level. Because when you know their quote unquote juice, then now it's like, okay, now we're playing with emotions, and people buy emotionally and they justify logically. So now you can play to their emotions better when you know their juice. And then lastly, just don't ever underestimate the power of a personal note. Handwriting a note is 0.7% of all US mail. So, and they always get opened. They always get read. Many times they're even kept. When I was in real estate, I had an attorney who kept my personal notes that I wrote him on his desk. And whenever he had a client who's going through a divorce, an inheritance, whatever else, or just a financial planning session or whatever it is, he just said, hell yeah, that's my realtor right there. You see all the notes he writes me? You should take one of them. He's got his business card in there. And I got tons of referrals from him for that. And the notes, cost 50 cents now or 51 cents for a stamp now. So like that's big time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how is it that somebody gets a hold of you? We've been talking about Appreciation Advocate. How would somebody, go about contacting you? Do you have like free consultations? What is it that you?
Yeah, we do free consultations for people all the time, just to kind of find out what their best needs are. If you want to jump on my calendar, just send me an email. Just reach out to me at steve@appreciationadvocate.com. And then, we could set up a time to talk and we'll see what's a good fit for you and what your gifting needs are. And then we'll go from there.
Awesome. And do you have any like final words of wisdom or anything for the audience?
I would say I had a piece of advice from a mentor of mine. His name's John Rule, and he wrote that book, Giftology. He's a really phenomenal, bright mind in the whole gifting space. His best advice that I've ever gotten from him was, it's not the thought that counts, it's the thoughtful thought that counts. And I think that's really the best way to go about doing things. So when you go to gifting, don't just a thought. It's just like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So like you may have a thought to do something good, but go the extra mile, go the thoughtful thought. Don't just send someone a gift card. Don't send them a box of chocolates or a bundle of flowers, because those are all just fart in the wind. Don't go the extra mile. Do that thoughtful thought. What really makes that person tick, and then do that.
It's awesome. It's great.
Yes.
Well, thanks for coming on the show today, Steve. This was great.
No, yeah, thanks for having me. This was obviously a fun conversation, and enjoy the questions as well.
Awesome. Thanks.
Anytime.